Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to start painting this portrait. So, I have my actual drawing that we did on the board. I have my photo reference, and I have my mixed colors for my palette. So, what I'm going to do now, this is the tricky part, is what I'm going to do now is look at the values that are in my photo reference. So this is why it was important for you to still have this. So if for some strange reason you don't have this anymore, you're going to need to print out another one. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look on here and I'm going to find all the spaces that are the lightest. I'm going to look for my lightest color and the one that is closest to white. But I'm not actually going to use white because none of these colors are actually white, with maybe the exception of this area on my hand. But I'm going to actually use just the little bit here that was made from just me mixing my colors with the white, so it's nearly white, but it's not exactly white. So that's the color I'm going to start with. Now if you look, I have a round pointed brush. I'm using this one because it's going to give me a nice even line, especially like on the tip of my nose. I'm going to want a nice straight line. So I'm going to start with my lightest color, and that one is right going to be on the back of my hand. Now, you also want to remember, do not water down your paints at all. You want to keep them as thick as they were right out of the bottle without mixing. So don't get your brush too wet and water it down. So I'm looking at my photo reference and I'm saying, where is it that it's nearly white? Wherever it is not nearly white, I am not going to paint that area there. I am just painting the areas where I see it as being white or nearly white. And it doesn't come all the way over, but it comes over a little bit. It is kind of close to my wrist. Comes this way a little. So I'm looking here, how far over does it come? Comes almost to here. Maybe you need to bring that over a little bit more. And of course it looks a little brighter on the screen for you than it does on my paper and in my painting, but that's okay. So I did that. I also need this one stripe right on the tip of my nose. So I'm looking at this. And if you notice, my paint does almost cover all my pencil lines. Not perfectly, but it gets pretty close. So there is my lightest spots. Now you see I got a couple little fingerprints and stuff. I'm not going to stress out about those. That's not a big deal because I'm going to be painting over them anyways. So why stress? So now I have to go look back in here and say, where else is there that I see a really, really, really bright white? And I'm going to say, there is no more really, really, really bright whites, so I'm going to move on to a next color that's slightly darker. Now, if I move on to my next color that's slightly darker, I'm going to look at my palette and say, alright, this is where I was. Is this color the right color that I need for here, or do I need something in between? I almost need something that's a little bit in between, which is what I have right here. It's not as light as this, but not as dark as this. So now, I am going to put in this color, which is, I'm looking at where I need it. So I just need a little bit next to this, a little bit around my finger, a little bit around my rings. So I'm just kind of selectively choosing. Now if you look, there's kind of this line that forms between the two colors. And know what? That's okay. That's not a bad thing. I actually like that because that's showing me where the difference in tone is. So I have this, and it actually, I'm looking at my photo, and this tone actually continues kind of down the side of my nose. So this is kind of how you got to start. So you're looking for all the lightest areas and the darker areas. So you're starting off with the lights. I'm going to stop this so you can kind of start looking for the light areas in your painting, and then we'll talk about darks again in a little bit. All right? Good luck.